Welcome to Season 3 of the Builders Podcast. I'm Matt Levenhagen. Here we share the journeys, strategies, and lessons that help entrepreneurs build what's next. Builders helping builders. Enjoy the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another The Builders. Today, we are joined by Michael Haynes. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Thanks, Matt. Great to be here. Looking forward to our conversation today.
So am I. So Michael is a biz growth go-to-market specialist. Why don't you first give us a minute or two glimpse into what that is exactly? What do you do over there?
Sure, Matt. So I'm Michael Haynes. I'm a business growth go-to-market specialist. My focus, my passion is working with small and medium B2B professional service firms with a big focus around accounting firms, CFO advisory firms, and technology companies to help them develop and implement those cross-functional business growth go-to-market strategies to drive new market entry, client acquisition, client retention and expansion, leading to overall business growth.
Well said. That's awesome. I like handing it to you to explain what you do, because you're going to do way better job than I can do.
Sure. Even if I'm here, all good.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have to read it off of something. You you can take care of it. Anyway, so awesome. So what we like to do on the Builders is we first want to get to know you a little bit, Michael, and tell us a little bit about your story, like your origin story. If you want, you can go as far back or not go very far back at all. I do know that you have an interesting story around Australia that's where you're at right now. But you weren't always in Australia, but you weren't always there. So what is that story? Tell us a little bit about that. How did you end up there?
Okay, so I am based here in Sydney, Australia, but you can tell by my accent or lack thereof, depending on which side of the equator you're talking to. People here down under say I have an accent, whereas people in North America would say don't have an accent. Anyways, I've been here in Australia for just over 26 years. What brought me here was many years after I finished my MBA. I've always had a love of travel. A big comment in my family's house, Michael, where is Michael in the world? Always wanted to live and work overseas. So I have been here in Australia since July of 2000. Initially working in big corporate before transitioning to work independently for myself with small and medium businesses. So I'm based here in Sydney, Australia, but I do work internationally, Australia, Canada, US being three of my core markets. They're very similar in terms of all being SME, small, medium business driven. So the backbone of the economies are very much driven by us small business owners and operators. So there's a commonality there. And I always wanted to live and work internationally. Allows for variety of work.
Why is that? Why did you want to be international? Yeah.
Why must be international? I think it's a combination. My love of travel, love of working people in different environments, different contexts. It gives more opportunities. It keeps things interesting for me. And I have to say today, I think it's a great move for me because I've met some fantastic people in terms of clients, in terms of my network, in terms of learning new approaches, what's coming up, what's working, what's not, what can be applied across borders, which I think is very important because a lot of small and medium businesses do have aspirations to, as part of their growth, going internationally. That has been a fair bit of a lot of the work that I've been doing over the past 18 months, folks looking to go into other markets. So it's a combination of those things. And it allows me on a level to have two homes, Toronto and Sydney. Sydney is my principal place of residence, but I will always call Toronto, Canada home. It is my second home. And so being an independent, working internationally allows me to incorporate that in as well.
Yeah. I mean, what do you like about Australia that
What
made
do I like
you
about
stay there
Australia? Well, first off is two things: people and the weather. People are great; they're good fun, outgoing, very easy to get along with. So Aussies are great. The weather is great here because born and raised in Toronto, and did my undergrad in Ottawa and Halifax. I did my fair share of North American winters, and what they call winter here in Australia. I'm like, got to man up, folks. I barely call it winter. I don't really have any more winter clothes. I have a small box of, I think, a couple sweaters, etc. Yeah, I mean, even in the colder parts of Australia, colder parts in winter, and I'm using air quotes there, like down in Melbourne. I mean, I can get away with leather jacket, nice turtleneck sweater, and on my way. As I tell friends, I wear boots for fashion. I don't have to wear them out of necessity, as in back in the days of living
Right.
in the north where you had all the snow and stuff. So yeah, my
Yeah.
staple winter
Yeah. I'm
outfit on a Saturday night is turtleneck, jeans, the dressy boots, and maybe a leather jacket if I really need to.
Sounds nice. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
as I am like nestled up here in Wisconsin, very close to
Mm,
Canada,
yeah,
I
yeah.
get the whole winter thing,
Oh,
and
yes.
I'm a little jealous, to be honest.
Yes, indeed, indeed. Well, December to February, I am particularly very, happy and appreciative and grateful of living in this part of the world in
Yeah,
particular.
for sure. Oh yeah, it gets really nice and cold in January.
Yeah,
Anyway, so but we're coming out of that. Hopefully spring is right around the corner.
could hope so. Getting
S
close to mid-March, I hope so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, cool. So you're in Australia, and you said you were, did you mention you were like in corporate first? You said you were kind
Yeah, so
of
I was in corporate, yes. So I
okay.
started when I arrived here in 2000, I was working in big corporate. I've done a lot of working in banking and financial services, worked for one of the
Mm,
big banks here, in marketing and strategy. Then I did a stint at Accenture, one of the big international consulting firms as a strategy consultant, for a short period of time. And then my last big corporate role was being head of customer research and analysis for the wholesale division of the largest telecommunications company, Telstra Corporation. I was their head of customer research and analysis for their wholesale division for about 5 years. And that's where I got really into the whole B2B space, business growth. And that's where I learned a lot about B2B, how to develop and implement effective strategies, being not just customer centric, buyer centric. A lot of my foundation training and experience in B2B comes from the big corporate world, but I've now learned and applied it now for small and medium businesses.
oh, nice. I always love that bridge because it's like, where you don't want to learn from somebody that's like been in corporate and that's all your, that's your experience, but we have to translate that to small businesses because there's a lot of small businesses out there.
Yeah.
What attracted you to the smaller businesses though? Like, why do you want to help the non-corps?
Why do I want to help the non-corp? I think it's partly just part of my DNA. I mean, I do come from a family of entrepreneurs. My sister has her own law practice in
Nice.
Canada. She's an employment law specialist, and she was an independent straight out of law school from day one. My cousin has her own home renovation business. Her husband has his own construction business. So it's always been part of my DNA, and I've always found small medium businesses have been part of my people, and even in big corporate, I worked on initiatives for the SME, small medium business market.
Mm,
So I've done a lot of work at Telstra and at other strategy engagements, working with Allianz Insurance and working on developing strategies and initiatives, programs, and solutions for small businesses. So I've always had
gotcha.
involvement, and and those have been my best projects, even in the corporate environment. Those were some of my best projects working on those initiatives for small, medium
Best
businesses.
projects. How do you define a best project?
Well, best projects just in terms of interesting work, lots of opportunities, being able to interact with small businesses. It enabled me to see where are some of the gaps in terms of what small businesses need to thrive and succeed. Part of the reason why I wrote my first book, Listen, Innovate, Grow, is because I felt there was a gap. A lot of small businesses and medium business want to grow, but a lot of the business books out there for business growth we're very much centered at corporate, at some of these big approaches in terms of segmentation and large quantitative market research studies. Foundationally, understanding and having a strong foundation around your industries, your markets, your customers, your buyers are things that small and medium businesses do need to know and understand to implement growth strategies. But we have to modify the approaches and recommend the appropriate approaches and solutions that are relevant to small businesses.
Gotcha. Yeah.
fundamentally still need to be doing a lot of the same things that big corporates do, but really identifying those market opportunities, prioritizing them, and then how you deliver to them. A
Yeah.
lot of those principles need to be executed, but you need to be putting it in a manner, in the context, and the approaches that are relevant for small and medium businesses.
Love it. So what was the catalyst that you left corporate and you started your own thing? What did you start and when did you write this book? You have a book out
Okay,
there.
so I left big corporate in 2010. After my 5.5 years, I was asked if I wanted to go into the executive management development program to become a senior exec. My last corporate role as head of customer research analysis was fantastic. Learned a lot. I learned a lot of the good and also some of the not so good in terms of how people
Yeah.
can be treated, etc., politics and stuff, which just is very much an antithesis to my DNA. So in 2010, it was also a milestone birthday as well. So I left, took 6 months off. I went to South America. I was learning Spanish here in Sydney for 6 months. Um, Prior, then went away, went to South America for 4 months, traveled around, and worked at an after-school program in an indigenous village in outside of Cusco, Peru. And so did all of that, great traveling around South America volunteering, and then I came back and set up shop.
Oh, that's great. You took 6 months off and you went and did something good in the world. You went to why South
Yeah,
America? I'm
yeah,
asking you
I
lots of
love
questions. I'm
traveling. South
curious.
America was always one of my destinations, but I wanted to make sure I went with some ability to speak the language somewhat. So
Right.
6 months prior, I did language courses here in Sydney at the Berlitz Institute, conversationally. Don't ask me to write anything. And then I planned out my trip to travel around South America, and I spent 4 weeks in Cusco working at an after-school program. I was Profe Mike. I worked in this small community center in this village, top of the mountain, about 40 minutes drive up in the mountains. And I was Profe Mike, and I worked with kids ages 4 to 16, split them up into groups, and I was helping them with math. So everything from the youngsters, 4-year-olds, right up to the kids 16 and 17 with high school math. And I was, yeah, doing it all in Spanish.
Wow, what a great experience that must have been.
Yeah, it was great. It was
Yeah.
fantastic. It was a lot of
Yeah.
fun. Kids were really great. The community that I was working in, the coordinator at the time, her name was Rosario. She didn't speak any English. She only spoke Spanish and the indigenous language Quechua. So yeah, so it really got me immersed to have to speak Spanish because it was only one of two choices. But yeah, it was a great
Yeah.
experience. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Good stuff. And then you come back and then you start your practice, whatever we call it.
Yeah. Yeah, I set up my own consulting business. Yeah, started back in 2011 and doing a combination of working with my own clients as well as subcontracting and working for other larger consulting firms. I'm very much known as being a doer, and a lot of the work that I say I can do, I've actually done. I've run segmentation studies, I've done competitor analysis, developed market strategies, client strategies. And so
Yeah.
I often would, in addition to having my own clients, I would sometimes work with other firms on some of their projects that they were doing, often for
So what
mid-market and big corporate.
so was that a smooth transition? Or is there something like kind of working for yourself now? Was there any lessons from there or something that it
Well, there are
was
always
challenging
lessons,
or
Matt. When you work for yourself, there's always lessons. You're always
good? We want
modifying,
to
you're always
we want to hear
learning.
them here on the builders. We're all about the
Okay,
lessons.
okay. What are
Give
the
us one
lessons?
or two.
I would say, well, when starting I mean, I did luck out in terms of finding my first client was relatively quickly. I kind of put the word out there to some folks in my network. And it was one of my colleagues who had just left big corporate, moved to the UK. He said, "Oh, I have someone for you that I think you can work with that needs to work with you." So I got my first client pretty quickly. But I
Good.
also learned quickly after that that you also need to have a strategy and a plan for how you're going to be attracting and finding work, because that is always the
Yeah.
most challenging piece of working as an
Yes.
independent, running your own business.
Yes,
Doing
it
the work
is.
itself is fun, it's the exciting part, but making sure you have a plan as what's gonna be your strategy to bring folks in, finding out what works for you. And that can, take some learning, it can take some modifying as you go and as your business changes, environment changes, as you learn more about yourself, you learn about running a business, you can make some you need to make some tweaks along the way. You can make a few mistakes along the way as well. It took me a while. One of my biggest learnings was you can work for yourself, but you cannot work by yourself. Even as an
Mm,
independent, I
yeah.
do have a team of people that I now work with me. So I have my right hand, my marketing operations person is Anna Delaney up in Brisbane. She's my right hand. She manages my email list, puts out my content, my newsletters, helps me get ready for my roundtables. So she's really great. She's quite important. Shan is also up in Brisbane. He manages all the IT stuff because those are not my areas of expertise.
Yeah.
So, having those core people, I have my own business advisor now who advises me on business things, Jerry McNamara, who's over in the US. So he helps me have that third party view on working on my own business. So yeah, it would have been nice too if I'd learned some of those things a bit earlier on. But yeah, again, these are things sometimes you have to learn by experience. But you can work for yourself, but you can't work by yourself. You
By
gotta know what
yourself.
your
I
strengths
love
are
that.
and what
Yeah.
you're not good at, you need to make sure you get the appropriate people to, execute on those. Because in my initial years, Matt, what I couldn't do, I just sort of brushed to the side, brushed under the table. For my first couple of years, there are a lot of gaps in terms of if you're building the frame of the house, there are a lot of pieces, foundational components missing. But bringing in and having the right kinds of support, makes a lot of difference in terms of making sure you're able to do those things. And it's also easier
Love
now,
it.
Matt, I would say, to find those folks now because you can find fractionals. There's lots of freelancers and so forth. So you can get people to help you on what you need, if it's manage your email list, your CRM, it's social media content. Whereas 2011, it was probably a little bit harder to find those resources that work with and can cater to working with independents and small business. Whereas now you can find lots of people and lots of good quality people, like the folks I'm blessed to have in as my team. You can have those. Um, you have to make the investment, but it's a reasonable investment. Whereas back in the day, you'd be looking at potentially talking to agencies and you'd be like, well, how much? That's per
Yeah,
month.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which could be a little bit prohibitive. So, I think,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's a lot more
timing has
options.
also been part of a factor as well.
Yeah. No, it's good to hear. I mean, it's good to hear somebody like yourself that started out where you're probably wearing all the hats but that's what
Yes.
that kind of you have to go through that phase. I mean, you don't have, I guess you could start a business, just hire a team right away, but going through that, you learn a lot about yourself. Like you
Yeah.
said, what do you like, what you're good at,
Yeah.
what bores the heck out of you.
Yeah.
You want to give that to somebody else because that's one of the things I found, having helped myself over, over the years is that um, you can find people like some things will just like are like data entry or something like that, where it's like, it requires a certain mind and you may not have that mind, but there's
Yeah.
somebody out there that just loves to do that. That's their
Yeah.
whole thing. And
Yeah.
building a team around that, finding people that are specialists and really good at what they do. And then
Yeah.
figuring out what your value is, what your core is
Yes.
and what you should be focused on, what you should be
Exactly.
doing daily. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you can
That's
really
great.
zone in on that, and then you can leverage, folks to do the other necessary components and it just means a better
Yeah.
outcome. You're more
Yeah.
productive. I think you enjoy the work more, and the outcomes are more productive as well. So just to know
Yeah.
where you're good at. I'm very good at the thinking strategy and the analysis. Okay, I can write the outline for a great strategy, roadmap, and all of that, but making it look good and making it look really schmick, that's my right hand Anna who will take what I do. I will give her the draft, and then what she is able to create as a final is like, oh, this looks really good. So she brings the look and feel up to the quality of the content. The content is good, but Anna can makes it really look, yeah, she makes it look schmick.
Nice.
Um, yeah,
Good job, Anna.
so just being able to do those kinds of things. And she's good for other
Yeah,
things too, in terms of some of the social media posting and all of that, which
right.
I'm not great at, and scheduling. I can give it to her. I give her the brief, and then she makes it happen, and she really delivers to it. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, I could just talk to you about the business side of things all day long. But let's talk a little bit about, have you kind of developed your own framework over time, and from your experiences, and that's how you kind of work with people within that. You figure out.
Yes,
I imagine you meet with
exactly.
somebody and figure out what they need through that.
Yes. So over my course of my years, I've actually had two frameworks. There's Listen, Innovate, Grow. There's my Listen, Innovate, Grow framework. That was kind of phase one. Um, and I still leverage that, but I really have zoned in now because I've started to practice what I preach and niche down to business growth and go to market. I've developed a go to market framework developed specifically for my target audiences, which are small and medium B2B professional service firms. And Matt, what is the underlying premise around my go to market framework is it is aligned to how the buyers of B2B professional services. So we're talking your consulting services, your advisory services. So if you're an accounting firm, a CFO advisory firm, an IT technology company, project management firm, these are some of the firms I've worked with. When you're the buyers of those kinds of products and services, the way in which they buy is quite different and distinct to other forms of B2B. And my go to market framework is aligned to how the buyers of professional services actually buy.
Huh.
And essentially the underlying premise in terms of what buyers of those services are looking for, they're looking for depth of expertise. So therefore the underlying premise in my go to market framework, and this is based on research, it's not just based on my own observations. This is based on tapping into the likes of Gartner, Forrester, the Haynes Research Institute in Washington, D.C. They do lots of studies around the world of B2B professional services. So I've tapped into all of those folks and a lot into the Haynes research as well. And so our buyers are looking for depths of expertise. That's really what they're looking for. So the underlying premises is that a couple of things, Matt. One, you need to understand who makes the decision to buy. You need to understand three things about your buyer of professional services: who makes the decision to buy and also influencing them, what are their priorities, and how do the buyers of those professional services buy. And the buyers of professional services, Matt, has the way in which they buy has changed over the past few years. Back in 2021, the underlying question would be, how do I solve X? Now in 2026, it's still how do I solve, but the real fundamental question is, who can help me solve? Buyers will do a lot of self-education and research, and that's often a common element within buyers of B2B, but buyers of professional services, of those advisory services, they're looking for who can help me solve. They're very much tapping into what are those groups, communities, experts, where they can really tap into those trusted sources of what we ultimately need to deliver: air, advice, insights, and recommendations. Because ultimately, that is what your buyers of professional services are looking for. They're looking for that air, advice, insights, and recommendations, that expertise on their areas that they're working in. So they are looking for, from a potential consultant advisor, they want to know about best practices, possible solutions, how to navigate all the different alternatives of strategies and approaches, what is going to make sense for them in particular. They're looking for that expert that can help them answer those questions. So your go to market is all about delivering your air, advice, insights, and recommendations in those networks, those ecosystems where your clients are seeking for information. So it's all about being visible, delivering that advice, insights, and recommendations, being present in those groups, platforms, communities, mastermind groups, events where your clients are going for those trusted sources for what I call air, advice, insights, and recommendations.
So how did we get here though? Like what was that transit? So you said before it was how to solve X in 2000, 2001, whatever, and now it's
Up to
who.
2021, it was very much how
2021.
can I solve? Now it's who can help me solve. So what led to
Right, but
that
but
transition?
why? Yeah, yeah. Why
Okay,
did
I
that
think it's a
transition happen?
great, great question. I think it's a number of things. I think one, around that 2021, 22, when we're time of the pandemic and so forth, there was a
Mhm.
lot of what I call content vomit. All the experts and stuff just inundating online with lots of content, some good, some bad. All the experts say you should do X, you should do Y. So I do think there's very much an information overload, and the research,
Mm.
some of the Gartner Forrester research, so that is that sense making. There's so much content, so much advice of all what the experts are saying. People are having trouble being able to navigate and understand, what makes sense for them. So I think it's an overload of a lot of information and insights that are available, particularly online. I think there's also a trust factor as a result also has come in, what's good, what's bad. You've got lots of people are saying they're experts, but are they really experts? So it's that
Yeah.
inundation.
I would imagine AI has just compounded that, or like just made that worse. Yeah.
Exactly. And then that was also been further complicated or compounded now more recently by AI as well. Hence, buyers now are not just looking for sources, looking for that information and research. They want to be able to ask experts. They want to be able to interact with their peers as well. In terms of understanding their perspectives, their approaches, what they have done. So these are some of the things that you really need to understand as running a B2B professional service firm that you need to incorporate into your go to market. And so I've developed my framework now, which is about having that understanding. It starts off with listening, and that's which goes back to my listen, innovate, grow framework. It's about listening, having that depth of understanding of the industries, markets that you're currently serving, seeking to serve, understanding your buyer and understanding those three questions of your buyer. Who makes the decision? What are their priorities? And how do they buy? So what content are they, where are they seeking? What are the topics and issues they're seeking air advice, insights, and recommendations? And where are they going for that? In what format and where? Are they going to talk to experts? Are there certain groups and associations, online communities? Are they talking to their peers? You really want to have an understanding of where they're going to be getting that advice, insights, and recommendations. And then we build
Yeah.
our strategy around that. And my strategy framework consists of 4 pillars: content. So, how are you going to be delivering that advice, insights? Are you going to be doing white papers? Is it white papers? Is it a analytics tool, what have you? So it's developing the right kind of content to deliver that advice, insights, white papers, videos, etc. Creating that content, but also where we need to distribute that content, Matt. So what online platforms, what publications, what event, where do we need to be putting that externally based on where your buyers are going for information? So developing the right kind of content on the right topics, but distributing it through those channels and platforms and people where your prospective clients are going to be looking. Second element of my framework is what I call micro events. Because in addition to getting that information and insights, buyers want to be interacting with experts. They want to interact with their fellow peers to, compare notes, ask questions, understand what you've done. So doing micro events, and a micro event I define as an event like 2 hours or less. It could be a panel, it can be a round table, it could be a LinkedIn live, it could be a fireside Q&A session. And this is where and you want to be bringing folks together. You can be bringing in fellow peers, industry experts, and it's an opportunity for your clients and prospects to gain some advice, insights, recommendations, ask questions to you as an expert, ask each other. So doing those micro events, what you can do in person, but I've also found online can be very effective because senior
Mhm.
leaders, business owners are very busy, but doing it online can often be very convenient for them. And if you're doing a roundtable or a LinkedIn Live that's going to have significant value, people can fit that into their diary, and it's easier to fit into the diary where they can listen
Right.
in and gain those insights. So your content, micro events, those work quite well together. Third element, Matt, is strategic collaborations. So this is about collaborating, and strategic collaborations can range from things as simply as you write a white paper, Matt, and then I, being in your network, I'm going to promote and distribute that article that white paper in my newsletter. It could be to doing a joint webinar or joint breakfast briefing. It might even be more comprehensive to creating a comprehensive, let's say, consulting package bundle whereby you'll provide certain kinds of services from an online digital strategy perspective. I provide the overarching, and we create this super offering that we're going to deliver to firms. So your strategic collaborations are a great way to gain access to your clients and prospects, to deliver the air, to deliver value. There's various kinds of strategic collaborations that you can do. But again, it all ties back to making sense to knowing your decision makers, your buyers. Who are they? What are their priorities? What do they need? And how do they buy? Those will help define what you will be doing. And then, of course, you have your advisory offerings. What are the offerings that you're providing to the marketplace, to your clients? There's often can be opportunities to package those up and create comprehensive bundled offerings and solutions. There could be potential new offerings you may want to provide that provide strategic advice, or being a facilitator, a connector, doing things like masterminds and communities. Providing those kinds of offerings can be highly lucrative and beneficial at the same time, because leaders want to be able to connect to peers and connect to each other. And when you can facilitate that, you create massive value. It increases your value as a professional service provider.
So that was the fourth one. You had
Yes.
four.
So there's four.
You
So
have
your four pillars
content, you have micro
are
events,
then strategic
strategic
collaboration,
calls or collabs.
strategic collaborations, and then your advisory offerings. Those are the four pillars, all based on having an understanding, listening, and have an in-depth understanding of the industries, markets, and the clients, the buyers that you're currently serving, seeking to serve. So that essentially is my buyer air-driven go-to-market framework.
I love it. That's a great framework. So in the end, but part of it, it seems like kind of maybe it's the starting point or not, but is finding your audience, or who you're going to provide that content to,
You need to
that you're going
understand,
to,
absolutely. You
yeah. So that,
understanding who is gonna be your target clients, your target markets, um, is a key starting point. In many instances, and even some of my prospective clients right now, some of the new clients I'm gonna be working with, often firms want to grow and they're not sure, well, where should they be focusing on? So often that is step number one in terms of identifying where are those key opportunities that you want to prioritize on, to kind of identify your target clients and ultimately your target buyers. So that's
yeah,
often a first step. And so how we
right.
go, that's often um, that's
No,
often
go,
how
go ahead.
the first step is to help them identify that, and that's often where I work with clients. And we do that through a combination of first starting and looking internally at their existing business. So doing a bit of an internal analysis to understand where are they getting their wins in terms of, what are the clients you're currently seeking? Who are the ones that are, delivering the most revenues, most profits, the ones that are raving about you, that, are giving you the referrals. So understanding internally where you're having some of your wins, and doing that internal analysis. There will always tend to be some areas that you're really strong in. Then I'll also do some industry, some market analysis to understand, okay, it looks like for your accounting firm, it looks like you're, doing successful, let's say, in the fintech space. I'm going to say healthcare, just making these up. This is where you seem to have a lot of clients. Internally, you're strong. I'll then do some market research to understand, well, what are the trends and developments? What's the outlook for those? Are these areas that we should actually indeed be looking to zero in on? And so you'll do some of that because you want to be making sure that where you're focusing on, that there is going to be that forward market opportunity. We'll do some of that market assessment. And also ultimately then I will talk to some of your clients to understand, okay, why you're currently successful, and understanding those three questions of who makes the decision, what are their current priorities now and moving forward, and how are they, getting that air? How do they buy? How do they get their advice, insights, recommendation? Who are they talking to? Where are they going? What groups are they members of? So I'll do that analysis on those three levels, and that will help us zero in on what are some of those key industry verticals, markets we should focus in on, and what are the requirements? Who are those buyers, decision makers, and what are the requirements for them? And from there, we start to build out that strategy to start acquiring, to start getting into those markets and acquiring and keeping and growing those clients.
I love that you start with your current wins, like internally looking at who you already serve
Absolutely.
and figuring that out. I think that's something that's something I do in my agency too, or have done, where I was like, at some point, like, I reached a point where I'm like, all right, let's look at who we're serving. I guess we should really explore the
Yeah.
wins. In our case, like we've had this client for 4 or 5 years. They're
Yep.
still with us for a reason. And maybe we need to figure out how, let's talk to them. Let's start to
Yep.
understand them and why we're a good fit for them, and then, expand from there. But and then the market assessment part of it, that's something you help with. You do the research and figure out maybe
Yep.
where this market lives as well, because now the content piece is kind of like where you're going to go with your message, and to be in the same room with these people, and that could be communities, I would assume, posting content on throughout wherever, depending on the
Yeah,
business.
yeah. We want to identify those ecosystems externally. We know what are those
Yeah.
groups, communities, mastermind groups. What are the professional associations? Are there specific publication journals? Are there specific industry experts that they're going to? We really need to understand the ecosystem of those target industries from that buyer point of view, so we can know in terms of content. It's about what is that kind of expertise in terms when because it's not about messaging, it's really about content from my view. What are those
Yeah.
topics that we have to provide that depth of expertise on advice, insights, and recommendations? So real meaty things. What are those areas, and where do we need to make those insights that air available? You know, externally, because often people default to, oh, I'm doing email and SEO on my website. Buyers are going to external sources. So we need to understand in their ecosystem. So we need to understand what's that ecosystem, where are they operating, and put your expertise, your brilliance there in those areas. One other thing I want to touch on in terms of talking to clients is very important. A couple of things that you're talking to the decision makers, the buyers, so who's making the decision to buy. And
Right.
often
Right.
what I try to do in terms of doing those client interviews, I try to get what I call a market view. So I will look at your current clients, but I also ideally, if I can talk to clients, not just the ones that love you, the ones that have been difficult, potentially those that have left, and also some of the prospects as
Hmm.
well. Because as part of your growth, you are going to want to have retention and expansion of your current clients, but you also want to often have client acquisition. So if we can talk to some of your prospects, non-clients, and potentially those that left, well, why did they leave? What did you find that was not up to par or was missing in terms of expertise or a service delivery experience? Similarly, talking to a prospect, what is it going to take to make you want to work with Matt's firm? So by getting a market view of current clients, and those that you would like to work with, those that maybe have left, you don't have, then you can really understand how you're going to position the firm from a buyer's perspective for growth. So it's very important. It's not just about talking to your current clients. Yes, we want to talk to them, but it's getting a mix. And ideally, if we can get what I call a market view, that's very important to really understand how to position what the firm needs to do.
I love it. This is like such a sophisticated way to approach it. I think, as you were telling me all this, and as we're getting into the weeds here with some of, how you extract this stuff and figure it out and do the research and all this. There's so many, there's so much content out there. There's so much help out there that is just broad in nature. That's like, they paint a broad brush, like, this is how you do it. This is how you find, your market. This is how you, just go out there, put your message out on some random social media platform somewhere or something or
Yeah,
whatever. It's not, I think what's key here is that you're looking at, because every business is different. Every
yep,
business has different clientele. Every business has different experience, or they have a different type of team, or there's so many nuances to a business. And you're basically the starting point is constructing something that's finely tuned for them, and figuring
that's
out
correct.
who their market is based on what they offer, not some, what the average business offers or whatever. So I think having that personalized help is really important.
Yes. So Matt, to your point, that's correct. It's making it very tailored to your firm,
Right.
aligned to how the buyers of your products and services, your advisory firm offer actually buy. That's the key. So it's making it tailored, but based on how they actually buy, because that's where there's often the disconnect. And it's about getting granular and specific to those buyers in terms of what exactly are they needing assistance, advice, guidance on, and where and with whom are they going for that, and then delivering to that. So there is about getting granular and specific, tailored to your firm and what's best for your firm based on the client you're currently serving and seeking to serve. So it's getting very granular and very aligned to buyers of, in our world, B2B professional services, which is different, excuse me, from other types of B2B buyers.
Yeah. And then you're looking for the decision makers and figure out where they hang out and get that content in front of them, like the important people that, because
Yeah,
not everybody, you don't want to target everybody or the wrong people,
absolutely.
because you're wasting time. This is awesome. Actually, um, there's so much more we could get into. If you're interested, we can have you back and dig into
Absolutely.
some of these other things. Just have like a
Absolutely.
whole conversation to actually dig into even one of these things. We could probably spend a whole episode on.
Or we could
Yeah,
break down and maybe go through some of the different elements from understanding your markets and your buyers. That can be kind of one theme. And then we can zero into some of the elements of the go to market framework and the execution.
yeah. Oh, I love it. I mean, you have, I feel like you have a lot to teach us, and it's great. So, before we go, um, what is, I don't know why my brain suddenly froze up.
It's the cold
I've
weather,
done this
Matt.
like,
It's the
I've
cold
only
weather.
done
It's
this
cold
like
weather.
260 some times.
Yeah, but we're gonna blame it on the cold weather of where you're residing in the northern
Yeah.
U.S. We'll blame it on
And
that.
a little bit of a cold I have. No, so if somebody wants to reach out and they want to learn more about what you do, where can they find you on the World Wide Web? Where do you hang out? If somebody wants to shoot you a message or something?
So sure. You can go to my website, listeninnovategrow.com. So listeninnovategrow.com, all one word.
Nice.
Or you connect with me on LinkedIn. I am always very active on LinkedIn. You can shoot me a DM there. I'm always, interacting, sharing content, responding. So yeah, LinkedIn or the company or the website.
Well, very good. Michael, it's nice having you. Learned a lot. Great story. And we will talk to you next time. Take care.
Thank you so much, Matt. It's been a great conversation.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Builders Podcast. One more quick note about our sponsors. At Unified Web Design, we're passionate about doing better together, partnering with agencies and businesses to deliver exceptional web design, development, and ongoing support. And UnifiedLabs.ai is where we explore smart, practical ways to integrate AI directly into your website and e-commerce flows. From intelligent chatbots to marketing automation to back-end reporting, all with a strong focus on user experience and making your systems work smarter. If you haven't already, subscribe or follow to stay updated on future episodes. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, sharing it with someone who might benefit helps us grow this amazing community. Until next time, keep building smarter, bolder, and with purpose.